right, there is a lot to get to today, as I'm going to be discussing the tragic and very infuriating incident that happened at Grapevine Lake over the weekend. A young woman, 18 years old, was struck by an illegal alien on a jet ski. Let's play some video and then we'll talk about some of the details of the incident. Let's check it out.
Newly obtained arrest records are revealing what police believe happened right before and after a fatal hit and run with a jet skier on Grapevine Lake.
The operator of the jet ski, Carolyn Alejandra Gonzalez, arrested this morning in Dallas. Police also revealed they arrested Michael Proso for helping Gonzalez flee the scene. ICE confirms they're also investigating the two on immigration matters. It says the Air Force reveals that victim, 18-year-old Ava Moore, was set to join its academy. Fox 4's David Santendry joins us now with the latest from police. David.
Yeah, Heather and Steve, and tonight we are learning more about what led to that crash. According to a newly obtained arrest warrant affidavit, that jet ski was traveling at a high rate of speed and in close proximity to swimmers and others. The kayakers had made the decision to paddle away from the area and were in the process of doing so when Gonzalez struck the kayak operated by...
So they were trying to get away from these idiots.
Ava Moore from behind. It's reported that bystanders tried to apprehend those suspects and actually were able to do so with an occupant on that jet ski, but the driver got away, but not before a photo was taken of her and shared with law enforcement.
The police came and they went to that house right there.
Oak Cliff neighbors rattled Tuesday morning as law enforcement surrounded a home off Atlas Drive.
I don't really care what people do around me. I don't care if it's cops involved, SWAT involved, whatever. I just mind my own business.
But while trying to stay to himself, Angel Gonzalez could not help hear authorities demand two people, reportedly on the run from a deadly lake crash, surrender.
I mean, everything that our officers and all of the agencies have been doing is for Ava Moore.
18-year-old Ava Moore, a recent U.S. Air Force Academy preparatory school graduate, was killed after being struck by a jet ski while kayaking on Grapevine Lake Sunday.
And then I heard someone in the crowd say she hit someone. And so I automatically turned around to go back toward the water because I was concerned.
Lisa Scrayback there as a group pulled Moore from the lake.
You know, we just started life-saving measures, checking her pulse at that time.
But Moore passed away, and the woman on the jet ski fled.
I turned around to look at the water, and I could see her and the passenger on the jet ski going away from the incident, and they were waving toward like their people, and you could tell they were trying to get away.
Someone shared this photo of the suspect with Texas game wardens, who...
Every time I look at this photo, I get angry. This is complete BS, and this should have never happened. We'll get into the details of her group shortly.
Released it to the public. It's shared thousands of times across social media. Tuesday morning, authorities identified her as Carolyn Alejandro Gonzalez. Attorney General Ken Paxton says she was in the country illegally, and we saw immigration officials on scene early Tuesday. Gonzalez was located inside this Oak Cliff home. A woman renting here who does not want to show her face says several rooms inside are rented. She claims she first saw Gonzalez Monday.
Of course, they were in Oak Cliff. For those of you who don't know, Oak Cliff is a rough part of Dallas, and Grapevine is a very nice community, middle upper class, very family-oriented community, very nice homes. Grapevine Lake is a very popular place to go to, but it shows you that nobody is immune to this nonsense. These people were hiding out in Oak Cliff at some house in Dallas, but they were in Grapevine on the lake, riding recklessly on jet skis. I can't explain how badly this pisses me off.
Night with a man who lives there.
It seemed like her photo was clear that she would just be caught very soon.
Gonzalez now in custody for the death of Moore, according to game wardens. On top of that, Grapevine police say Mikel Coelho Perozo, also a reported illegal immigrant from Venezuela, will face additional charges for a vehicle crash while driving away from the lake with Gonzalez.
Where they crashed into two different vehicles and got out of the car and ran away.
Had some Oak Cliff neighbors known they were reportedly hiding next door, they say they would have called 911.
I would probably try to tip them off and tell them that they were here.
Gonzalez is facing several charges, the most significant being manslaughter. Texas game wardens will have a press conference tomorrow morning. We'll make sure to have a crew out there. For now, Heather.
And I covered that press conference. You can find it on my page, on my YouTube channel, my main page. You can find the live section. I did cover that. The whole thing is there. But this is from Texas Scorecard. Here's some more details about the people who were involved. Illegally in the U.S. and released, now tied to deadly jet ski crash. Yeah, this is pretty infuriating. So here's the scumbag human being right here. I wouldn't even call her a human being. She's filth, in my opinion. 4 individuals suspected to be involved in the tragic death of 18-year-old Ava Moore on Lake Grapevine over Memorial Day weekend were in the country illegally, having entered during the Biden administration. Go figure, with most encountered and released by federal authorities. According to Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, Moore was kayaking on Sunday when she was struck and killed by a jet ski. The driver, identified as, I don't even care to say his name or the person's name, whoever, fled the scene with the help of others and was later involved in a separate hit and run while attempting to avoid arrest. Okay, that carrying, I don't really care about that. Gonzalez, a Venezuelan national, was arrested by law enforcement with the assistance of Paxton's Fugitive Apprehension Unit. Immigration records indicate she entered the U.S. illegally in September of 2023 and was released after being encountered by Border Patrol. So this is a Joe Biden illegal alien. He let in so many people, and this is what we're trying to drill in people's heads, that this cannot happen. That Kamala Harris cannot win 2024, and thankfully she didn't. Yeah. Texas Scorecard has learned that 3 other individuals tied to the incident who helped her flee the scene were also present in the country illegally and entered the country within the last 2 years. According to federal records, they were either released with notices to appear years in the future, issued immigration court dates that were never processed, or overstayed temporary visas. One individual re-entered the U.S. after initially being expelled under Title 42, while another filed an asylum application to avoid removal proceedings. None of them were held in detention. One of these individuals has also been arrested. Ava Moore's senseless death was caused by an illegal alien who should have never been in our country in the first place, said Paxton. These arrests involved cooperation between the Texas Attorney General's Fugitive Apprehension Unit, Texas Parks and Wildlife, the Grapevine and Dallas Police Departments, the Texas Department of Public Safety, and U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Again, this should have never happened, and these were Joe Biden illegal aliens. Now, how many incidents have we seen with Venezuelans? I'm not saying all of them are reckless and bad people. I'm not saying that, but there are plenty who have caused a lot of damage in our country. This is why we can't have open borders. This is why the border has been shut down. And thank goodness 77 million Americans went to the polls and reelected Donald Trump. But let's get into the operation of a personal watercraft here in Texas. What are the requirements for this? And this person, or this filth, this filth in our country, she's filth because she was recklessly riding this jet ski and she hit somebody and fled the scene. And then when they fled the scene, crashed into 2 cars after that. You're a no good. Anyway, let's keep going here. This is from Texas Park and Wildlife. Operation of personal watercraft. Education requirements for operating a personal watercraft. So before we get into the educational requirements, let's take a look at the operational rules for personal watercrafts. Let's see. Operate personal watercraft within 50 feet of another personal watercraft, motorboat. It's unlawful for any person to operate a personal watercraft at night, sunset until sunrise. Operate one within 50 feet of another PWC, motorboat, vessel, platform, person, object, or shore except at headway speed without creating a swell or wake. Headway speed is a slow idle speed or speed only fast enough to maintain steerage. Operate a PWC and jump the wake of another vessel recklessly or unnecessarily close. Now, the requirements here, I don't think this person took the time, this Phil took the time to look at the educational requirements. Boater education is recommended for all boat operators and required for all those born on or after September 1st, 1993. Successful of a TPWD certified boater education course and possession of a valid photo ID are required for any person born on or after September 1st, 1993 to operate a vessel powered by a motor of more than 1,500 horsepower or a windblown vessel over 14 feet in length. No person may operate a personal watercraft or motorboat powered by a motor of more than 15 horsepower on public waters unless the person is at least 13 years of age and has successfully completed the boat education course or supervised by another person who is at least 18 years old. But do you think this person, the suspect here really took the time to get the training to properly operate this watercraft? I don't think so. This person didn't even take this. She didn't even take the time to, go through the process of coming in this country illegally. So why in the world would they take the time to operate this correctly? Going extremely fast, close to other people, recklessly. I don't think they had a care in the world of what happened. Obviously, if you flee the scene when you hit somebody, instead of staying there like a stand-up human being would, you disappear. And this tells you a person guilty of one of the following violations shall be required to successfully complete an approved boater education course and may pay a fine. Failure to complete the boater education course within 90 days will result in the person committing an offense that is Parks and Wildlife Class A misdemeanor. Any personal watercraft violation, reckless or negligent operation, excessive speed, which we saw. So this this was very illegal what they were doing, on top of being in the country illegally. But this is not the first time that somebody in the country illegally from Venezuela has been in the city of Grapevine. This happened recently. Check this out. ICE nabs accused hitman given work permit under Biden. A hitman was caught in Grapevine. Federal law enforcement agents arrested an illegal immigrant wanted by Venezuela in connection to 4 contract killings who crossed the border in 2022 and was given a work permit by the Biden administration. He was 42 years old and was caught by ICE agents and the U.S. Marshal Services on May 2nd in Grapevine, Texas, a suburb of Dallas. In Tarrant County, I consider more of a suburb of Fort Worth. Fort Worth doesn't get enough love in DFW. It's always about Dallas. He was wanted by Interpol for 4 contract murders and a fatal shooting, and being a lieutenant of the El Shamu gang. New York Post reported on Wednesday. This is from earlier this month. I said it wasn't until February 18th that Venezuelan authorities notified the U.S. that Marin Latorre was wanted for the contract killings in his home country. This fugitive stands accused of some horrific crimes, further representing a threat to the communities in Texas that we will not tolerate, acting ICE director said. So he entered the country illegally entered the U.S. at or near the port of San Luis, Arizona port of entry on September 22nd, 2022, as part of a family unit, and was charged as an inadmissible alien. A month later, he appeared in the ICE office in Dallas for a required check-in and was given notice to appear in immigration court on July 23rd, 2025. He then applied for a federal work permit, which was issued in June 2023, and for asylum and protected status, with those applications still pending. Wow. This is unbelievable. This is really unbelievable stuff right here. This guy came into the U.S. illegally under Joe Biden, was given a work permit, applied for a protective status, but yet he killed 4 people in his home country. He was a hitman. And this guy was roaming the streets. I saw a picture of the arrest. I saw a picture of his truck, and I saw it was at some apartment complex. It looks like it was near the mall over there in that area. But that's terrifying. How many of these people are roaming the streets, driving around, working right next to you, working in the public eye, and are hitmen in a foreign country? It's actually pretty terrifying to think about, to say the least. But here's a video from a woman who said that she was going to vote for Kamala Harris, and then the Venezuelan situation in Colorado changed her mind.
We might still be living next to gang members because everything changed after he was elected. I was planning on voting for Kamala up until October, and I could not bring myself to do it. I had reached out to her campaign several times because by this point, this was a international story. Nobody got back to me, or any other Democrat for that matter. And I thought, how can I vote for people who didn't have my back, didn't care about myself or my neighbors? So I voted for Trump.
So you were a Democrat?
I was my whole life.
Really?
I first voted for Bill Clinton and voted Democrat every single year until, November.
And what do you think of Trump now? What do you think of his policies on deportation?
You know what? I can't tell you specifics about his policies, but what I will tell you is that it was not for Donald Trump, we might still be living next to gang members because everything changed after he was elected.
So you feel a lot safer now that he's in the White House again? I
do, because he's taking it seriously. The Democrats simply ignored it. They said it was lies. They won't talk to people who have been victimized by this. That it was not for Donald Trump.
All right, so there's that. You know, she said that if it weren't for Trump, if it were not for Trump, then she may still be living next to gang members. So yeah, I wonder, how many people changed their vote? How many people changed their vote because of this? How many people were going to vote for Kamala and decide not to because of this situation here, this nonsense here, with people wreaking havoc in their communities? But there's more. Her husband spoke to GB News. Speaking to GB News, the woman explained her dramatic change. Okay, we already got to that part, but here's her husband. Her husband detailed the shocking level of violence they experienced. I've walked out here watering my garden. There's been gunfights. I've chased a couple of clowns running and playing chase around my truck with guns and stuff like that. The couple's neighborhood became a hotspot for serious criminal activity. There was prostitution in the alley, child trafficking. There were shootings that happened here, which the public didn't hear about. When he was asked if she owns a gun, when asked if she owns a gun, the woman replied, yes, because of this. The trauma has left lasting scars. I feel trauma. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to get over this. Yeah, of course there's trauma with that. Of course, there's a lot of trauma with dealing with stuff like that. I mean, so Colorado was a hotspot for illegal immigration. A lot of Venezuelans, TDA members went there and were wreaking havoc on the communities. I'd report on big bust that happened, an illegal nightclub that was going on in Colorado Springs. You had the Aurora situation. But let's keep going here. She now questions policies around deportation. If they're showing us that their intentions are not to live in a peaceful way with us, why not deport them? People are arguing that about policies and that talking about due process. Policies that are talking about due process. Her perspective on rights has shifted dramatically. I think we need to look at, do we interpret due process people who have crossed our border illegally differently than U.S. citizens? I think we also have due process. We also have to have due process, right? We're talking about having the right to live peacefully. The woman's experience reflects a broader issue in Denver, which reportedly become welcome approximately 40,000 migrant arrivals last year, making a leading destination nationally. It's not only crimes that are committed here, but the fact the community turned their backs on us. I'm angry all the way around. It should never be allowed to happen. Yeah, it should have never been allowed to happen. And this is why Donald Trump won the election, because people were scared. They were afraid. People were afraid to go outside in their own neighborhoods because of this nonsense. They're afraid to let their kids play outside because of this. This is why he won. In my opinion, this was the biggest issue for 2024. The most important issue because it's public safety. But I just want to highlight this issue that happened here in North Texas. Very tragic. I'm very sorry for the family. I feel very bad for them and what happened. Yeah, but I'm going to leave that right there. Subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thank you. Take care.